Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in history when the clock of eternity seems to strike louder than the ticking of our days. A moment when the signs that surround us are no longer whispers, but shouts that demand our attention, our decision, and our preparation. And now the question that shakes many hearts: will the rapture happen this September 2025? The world is shaking, but the shaking is a warning, not chaos. When we look at the events unfolding around us, it is easy to feel overwhelmed, even frightened. Nations rise and fall, economies collapse, values erode, and the foundations we once thought secure appear to be crumbling. In such times, the human heart is quick to assume that everything is unraveling without purpose, that the shaking is simply destruction. But the truth is deeper. Shaking is not random, it is not meaningless, and it is certainly not outside the sovereignty of God. Shaking comes as a divine alarm clock, a trumpet blast to wake us from complacency and remind us that eternity is closer than we think. When a building is unstable, shaking reveals where the cracks are. It exposes what is weak, what cannot endure pressure, and what must be rebuilt or replaced. In the same way, when the world is shaken, it reveals the fragility of human systems, the weakness of earthly powers, and the emptiness of false securities. We discover that governments cannot guarantee peace, money cannot buy certainty, and pleasure cannot cover the deep void within the soul. The shaking strips away illusions so that what is unshakable may be seen clearly. It reminds us that while everything on earth is temporary, the eternal kingdom stands firm forever. Many people look at calamities as chaos, but chaos is disorder without direction. Shaking, on the other hand, has purpose. It is meant to awaken, to prepare, to shift us from what will not last to what will endure. Consider how easily we drift in distraction when life seems smooth and unbroken. Comfort makes us forget urgency. Prosperity dulls our sense of dependence. Routine lulls us into spiritual sleep. But when shaking comes, suddenly our illusions are shattered, and we remember the brevity of life, the uncertainty of tomorrow, and the necessity of choosing where we stand. Shaking pushes us to ask questions we avoid in comfort. What truly matters? What foundation am I building on? What am I living for? Where is my hope anchored? History itself testifies that great shaking often precedes great change. Empires that seemed immovable fell in a moment. Leaders who boasted in their strength were silenced overnight. Economies that appeared indestructible collapsed without warning. Yet out of those shakings came awakenings, revivals, and new beginnings. God uses shaking not to destroy, but to realign, not to scatter, but to separate the fleeting from the eternal. It is a severe mercy, a painful kindness, because it shakes us loose from things that cannot save and points us back to the one who can. We see this even in personal lives. A crisis may feel like the end, but it can become the very turning point that draws a person to truth. A financial loss, a broken relationship, an unexpected hardship, these may seem like chaos at first glance. But in hindsight, they often become the moments when the heart was humbled, when pride was stripped away, and when dependence on God became real. Shaking makes room for transformation because it forces us to let go of what we thought was secure and reach for what truly is. This is why shaking, though frightening, carries within it a hidden hope. If the world never shook, if nothing ever crumbled, we would cling forever to illusions and never discover the reality of God's kingdom. It is the mercy of warning before judgment, the kindness of a wake-up call before it is too late. Shaking is not the end, it is the invitation. It is not the collapse of destiny, but the preparation for fulfillment. The world is shaking now, and it will shake again, but through every tremor, the voice of eternity speaks clearly: do not fear, do not despair, but discern. The shaking is not chaos, it is a summons to awaken, to prepare, and to anchor your life in what can never be shaken. The rapture is not about fear, but about hope. Too often, when people hear the rapture, their minds turn to dread, to images of sudden disappearance, confusion, and judgment. They hear a trumpet sounding of people being caught up, and they see only the shadows, not the light behind them. Yet the true heart of the rapture is not rooted in terror, but in promise. It is not meant to fill us with panic, but with confidence. It is the blessed hope, the assurance that history is not spinning into darkness without direction, but moving toward a moment of ultimate redemption and reunion. The rapture is not a punishment for the faithful, but the long-awaited rescue. Imagine a bride waiting for her groom, yearning for the day he will return and take her home. There is anticipation, not dread, in that waiting. Every passing day is not a step closer to doom, but a step closer to fulfillment. In the same way, the rapture is the fulfillment of a promise given to those who endure, to those who hold fast to faith even in the midst of storms. It is the moment when the temporary pain of this world will give way to eternal joy, when the brokenness of creation will be replaced by the wholeness of heaven. When we view the rapture only through fear, we misunderstand its purpose. Fear paralyzes, but hope strengthens. Fear causes us to hide, but hope causes us to live ready. Fear is about punishment, but hope is about salvation. For the believer, the rapture is not a thief in the night come to rob, but a king come to rescue his own. It is not a moment of despair, but of deliverance. And that deliverance is certain because it rests not on human power, but on the unchanging promise of God. Think of the world we live in, a place filled with conflict, injustice, corruption, and sorrow. If this were all there was, if history's end were nothing but decay and destruction, then despair would be reasonable. But the rapture reminds us that this world is not our final home, that its brokenness will not have the last word. It tells us that there is a greater story unfolding, one that ends not in defeat but in triumph. The rapture is the signal that the old order is passing away and the new has come. It is a reminder that for those who belong to Christ, eternity is not a distant dream, but a coming reality. This hope does not make us careless. It makes us courageous. Because we know the end is not destruction, but redemption, we can endure trials with endurance, live lives of integrity in a corrupt world, and shine light in the darkness. Hope fuels perseverance. Hope gives strength to keep walking when the road grows long. Hope assures us that no matter how heavy the storm, there is a dawn ahead. The promise of the rapture is deeply personal as well. It means that death does not have the last word over the life of the faithful. It means that loved ones who have gone before are not lost, but waiting for reunion. It means that every tear shed in secret, every prayer whispered in pain, every sacrifice made in faith will one day be redeemed in joy unspeakable. It is the assurance that the faithful will not be forgotten, but will be gathered, embraced, and lifted into everlasting life. To live in the hope of the rapture is not to ignore the reality of trials, but to see beyond them. It is to live not with heads bowed in fear, but with hearts lifted in anticipation. It is to walk in the assurance that history is in the hands of the one who promised never to leave or forsake his own. The rapture is not the end of the story, but the turning of the page into the chapter where every promise is fulfilled. It is not fear, but the greatest hope, the hope that anchors us through shaking, carries us through storms, and prepares us for the day when faith will become sight and hope will become reality. No man knows the exact day or hour. This statement, simple yet profound, carries within it both a mystery and a call to action. Humanity has always longed to know the future, to predict what will happen and when. From ancient times to the present, people have studied signs, calculated dates, and made bold claims about when the end will come or when the great events of prophecy will unfold. Yet the truth remains untouched by all speculation. No man knows the day or the hour. This is not ignorance, but divine wisdom, for in the unknowing there is a test, a refining, and a call to readiness that cannot be postponed. If the exact day and hour were revealed, how many would live carelessly until the eve of that moment and then suddenly turn in shallow repentance? How many would delay their preparation, treating eternal destiny as a last-minute decision? By keeping the time hidden, God ensures that true faith is revealed, that devotion is genuine, and that readiness is constant. It is not about calculating dates, but about cultivating lives. The hidden hour pushes us to live every day as if it were the one, every moment as if it were the final call, not in fear, but in faithfulness. This mystery also reminds us of the limitations of human knowledge. For all our technology, wisdom, and study, we are still not sovereign over the times and seasons. The shaking of nations, the signs in the heavens, the unfolding of prophecy, these we may observe, but the precise moment of fulfillment rests in the hands of God alone. This humbles human pride and keeps the glory where it belongs, for if man could predict the hour with certainty, the focus would shift from God to human calculation. The hidden time keeps us leaning not on our own understanding, but on trust in the one who holds the times in his hand. The fact that no man knows the day or hour should not lead to apathy, but to urgency. It is not an excuse to dismiss prophecy, but an invitation to readiness. It means that the rapture could take place at any moment in the twinkling of an eye, without warning. Every sunrise could be the last dawn before eternity breaks through. Every sound in the night could be the trumpet call. This possibility transforms how we live, for it demands that we do not postpone obedience, that we do not delay repentance, and that we do not waste opportunities to love, forgive, and shine light. The uncertainty of the hour is a gift because it presses us into constant vigilance and constant hope. Some respond to this mystery with speculation, pouring endless energy into predictions, but the focus is misplaced. The point was never to solve a hidden puzzle, but to stay awake, to live alert, to walk in such a way that whenever the hour comes, we will be found faithful. Like a servant waiting for his master to return, the call is not to guess the minute of arrival, but to keep the house in order, the lamps burning, and the heart ready. The master may return at night or at dawn, but the faithful servant will be prepared at either. There is also mercy in the unknown. Imagine the burden if humanity knew the exact day. Many would live in terror as the moment approached, unable to think of anything else. Others would give up hope, feeling that the wait was too long. But in not knowing, we are freed from such weight and instead called to live each day with purpose. Every sunrise becomes an opportunity, every season a chapter of faith, every breath a preparation for eternity. The hidden time means that every day matters and none can be wasted. No man knows the day or the hour, but the certainty of the event is greater than the uncertainty of the timing. The trumpet will sound, the faithful will rise, and eternity will unfold. The question is not when it will happen, but whether we are ready for whenever it does. The unknown does not weaken the promise. It strengthens the call. And so we live not by the calculations of men, but by the assurance of God, not waiting for a date on the calendar, but walking every day as though the hour were near. For indeed it is nearer than we think. Every sign points to urgency. When we look at the world around us, it becomes clear that history is not moving in circles, but racing toward a climax. The patterns of our time echo the warnings written long ago. Earthquakes, wars, moral collapse, political turmoil, and even the shaking of nature itself all serve as trumpet blasts, reminding us that the time is short and the hour is late. Each sign is not an isolated event, but part of a larger chorus, a divine alarm calling us to wake from slumber and live as though eternity could break through at any moment. The urgency is undeniable because the signs are not hidden in secret corners. They appear on the global stage, visible to all. Nations rise against nations. Technology accelerates faster than wisdom can control. Hearts grow cold, and truth is traded for lies. The very foundations of culture are shifting, and values once taken for granted are being dismantled. These are not coincidences, they are reminders. Each event whispers, or sometimes shouts, that the time for complacency has ended. The urgency is not about fear, but about readiness, not about panic, but about purpose. Signs are given so that people may recognize the season they are in. Just as the changing of leaves signals the coming of autumn, so the upheavals in the world signal that prophecy is unfolding. To ignore the signs is to walk blindly into what has been plainly revealed. The reason signs exist is so that no one can say they were not warned. They are expressions of mercy, opportunities to turn hearts back before it is too late. Urgency is not meant to crush us, but to awaken us, to shake us out of distraction and point us toward the eternal. When urgency is ignored, opportunity is lost. Every delay in responding to the signs is a gamble with time, and time is the one thing we cannot reclaim. We do not control the hour, and the more the signs multiply, the more pressing the call becomes. Each earthquake is a reminder that the ground beneath us is not our foundation. Each conflict is a reminder that peace built on human strength cannot last. Each moral collapse is a reminder that without truth, society unravels. Every sign is a mirror held up to us, asking where our trust lies, what foundation we have built upon, and whether we are prepared for what is coming. Urgency also reveals the value of each moment. When you know the time is short, you treasure what remains. Words spoken in love, acts of kindness, steps of obedience take on greater weight because they are done in the shadow of eternity. Urgency presses us to forgive quickly, to live holy lives, to shine brightly in a world darkening by the hour. It pushes us to share truth boldly, knowing that tomorrow is not guaranteed. When signs point to urgency, the faithful cannot afford to waste time in apathy or distraction, for the hour is too critical. The beauty of urgency is that it produces clarity. Suddenly, the things that once seemed important, status, possessions, fleeting pleasures, lose their grip. What truly matters stands out in sharp focus, faith, hope, love, and the call of God in our lives. Urgency does not narrow life, it deepens it. It calls us to live intentionally, to see every encounter as divine, every opportunity as sacred, every moment as preparation for eternity. Every sign is pointing in one direction, and that direction is not delay, but decision. The signs do not exist so we may debate endlessly or speculate foolishly. They exist so we may act. They press us to choose where we will stand, who we will serve, and what we will live for. Ignoring them is perilous, but responding to them is life. The urgency of the hour is not about despair, but about awakening, not about ending, but about preparing. Every sign points to urgency. And urgency points us to the reality that the time to act is now, the time to awaken is now, the time to live ready is now. Preparation means living ready daily. Too often people imagine preparation as a single act, a moment of sudden resolve, or a dramatic decision made when crisis arrives. But true preparation is not about reacting at the last minute. It is about building a life that is ready no matter when the call comes. Living ready daily means shaping each choice, each thought, each action in light of eternity. It means walking as though the trumpet could sound at any moment, not in fear, but in faithfulness, not in panic, but in peace. To live ready daily is to recognize that every sunrise is a gift of mercy and every day a new opportunity to walk in alignment with God's will. It is the awareness that time is not guaranteed, that the future is not promised, and that eternity is closer than it seems. Preparation is not stored in a distant day of repentance or a vague plan to change someday. It is cultivated now, in the present moment, in the decisions we make today, the habits we form, the words we speak, the priorities we choose. All of these reflect whether we are living ready or living distracted. Preparation also involves the heart. It means carrying a spirit that is quick to forgive, quick to love, and quick to obey. If tomorrow never came, would bitterness still be held within us? Would apologies remain unsaid? Would kindnesses remain undone? Living ready daily is about refusing to carry the weight of unforgiveness, pride, or distraction into eternity. It is choosing to keep our hearts uncluttered so that when the call comes, nothing holds us back. A ready life is not just one that believes in the promise, but one that reflects it in purity, humility, and grace. Living ready daily also shapes how we see responsibility. A steward does not know when the master will return, but he remains faithful every day, keeping the house in order, the lamps burning, and the tasks completed. In the same way, daily preparation means faithfulness in the ordinary, not just the extraordinary. It means living with integrity at work, showing love within the family, serving with diligence in the community, and walking in truth when no one is watching. Readiness is not a performance for the moment of inspection, but a consistency woven into the fabric of life. Preparation is not only defensive, guarding against being caught unprepared, but also offensive, shining as a witness to others. When people see lives marked by peace and chaos, hope and despair, and faith and uncertainty, they see evidence of readiness. A ready life is a testimony that points others toward the same preparation. It is not only about securing one's own soul, but about sounding the call for others to awaken as well. Living ready daily means living as a beacon, showing by example that there is another way to walk in this world, one that leads to eternity. The call to live ready daily is also a call to endurance. It is easy to prepare for a short time, to burn brightly in a burst of passion, but preparation that endures requires discipline, perseverance, and daily renewal. It means guarding against weariness, against the temptation to drift into complacency, against the lie that there is still plenty of time. Urgency and endurance must work together, for urgency keeps us awake and endurance keeps us steady. To prepare daily is not to live in fear of what is coming, but to live in confidence of who is coming. It is the joy of knowing that when the moment arrives, it will not catch us by surprise because we have lived each day as though it could be the one. Preparation is not about cramming at the end, but about walking faithfully through the journey. It is not about waiting for the last hour, but about living every hour as though it were the last. This is the essence of readiness, not a one-time act, but a daily posture of the heart, a daily shaping of the life, a daily choice to live aligned with eternity. Faith must not be placed in earthly systems. From the beginning of time, humanity has sought security in structures built by human hands, governments, economies, armies, and institutions that promise stability and power. People cling to these systems because they appear strong, they seem lasting, and they offer the illusion of control. Yet history proves again and again that no earthly system is unshackable. Kingdoms that once ruled the world are now reduced to ruins. Empires that seemed invincible crumbled into dust. Leaders who claimed glory were silenced by time. When faith is anchored in what is temporary, disappointment is inevitable because the ground beneath such systems is fragile. The danger of trusting earthly systems is that they disguise themselves as permanent. When a nation thrives, when wealth increases, when leaders appear strong, people grow comfortable and assume that these conditions will endure. But economies collapse in a day, governments topple overnight, and leaders fall without warning. To tie one's hope to them is to tie one's life to something unstable. Faith in earthly power is like building on sand. It may stand for a season, but when the storms come, and storms always come, it will collapse, leaving nothing but regret. The truth is that earthly systems are not evil in themselves. Governments are meant to bring order. Economies are meant to provide exchange. Institutions are meant to guide societies. But they are not meant to be ultimate. When people begin to treat them as saviors, when trust in them replaces trust in God, they become idols. An idol is not merely a statue. It is anything that takes the place of God in our confidence. Placing faith in systems rather than in the Creator is to exchange the eternal for the temporary, the unshakable for the shakeable, the living God for the works of men's hands. History is filled with warnings. Babylon was called the Golden City, yet it fell. Rome boasted of eternal rule, yet it collapsed. Every nation that exalts itself as unshakable eventually faces decline. Even in modern times, the great powers of the earth cannot guarantee their own survival. Stock markets rise and fall. Currencies gain and lose value. Political systems swing back and forth. Yet people cling to them as though they were everlasting. But faith placed in these things is misplaced. It creates false hope, and when the inevitable shaking comes, hearts are left broken. Placing faith in God, however, provides a foundation that cannot be shaken. Unlike earthly systems, his kingdom has no end. His promises are not subject to market crashes, political scandals, or cultural upheaval. His word is steady when the world trembles. His truth is firm when lies spread, and his power endures when human strength fails. Faith in him does not mean ignoring the systems of this world, but it means never confusing them with the source of true security. We can work within economies, participate in nations, and live under governments, but our trust must rise above them, anchored in the one who reigns over all. Faith in earthly systems breeds fear, because when those systems shake, people lose everything. But faith in God breeds peace, because no shaking can remove what he has promised. When the world crumbles, the faithful still stand, not because they are strong, but because their foundation is eternal. To live with faith in him is to be free from the constant anxiety of watching human powers rise and fall. It is to know that even if kingdoms collapse, his kingdom stands. Even if wealth disappears, his riches endure. Even if leaders fail, his leadership never ends. The shaking of our age is not merely destruction, it is a reminder. Each collapse of an earthly system is a warning not to place faith in them. They are tools, not masters, temporary vessels, not eternal anchors. Faith must not be placed in earthly systems, for they will pass away. Only in God is there permanence. Only in him is there hope. Only in his kingdom is there a foundation that will endure forever.